All right, we're rolling.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to, and I haven't told Ramsey this yet. Ramsey is the producer of this podcast.
Producer Ram Dog is what I'm going by.
Producer Ram Dog. You're not going to see his face yet. One day we'll do a face reveal.
Someday, if once they've earned it, I'll step my face. You guys can see my face, but at this point, without a Patreon, I don't think I could do it.
You know what's funny is that probably everyone who's already listening or watching this podcast knows who you are because they're probably all here from Mean Boys.
It's probably very true. They're going to be so excited to hear my voice.
Hopefully it'll grow, but right now it's probably a subsection of the Mean Boys fans or from, my old podcast. But this is a new podcast, and the title of it is Everything Hurts.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's what I used to. I used to talk about it with one of my best friends that was going to be the title of my autobiography because just, life and physically my back and my neck.
It's one of the places, and I'll be honest with you, I don't lend my services out too frequently to people. One of the reasons why I was happy to do it for you is because I think Everything Hurts is probably the thing that has connected us as long as I've known you. Is the go like I know. Well, every time I look at you, I feel like I have somebody that I can complain about pain to. And I mean that positively.
Well, you know what's funny? We do talk about that in this episode of like being the person that when someone's like, hey, how are you? That you're like, oh, fucking life sucks and whatever. And that you don't want to be that guy. But I am that guy.
It's fine.
I'm that guy.
the thing that I think and of course, by the way, can I say this as an outside observer? Episode 1, just fire. It's going to be such a great episode. I'm so excited.
I mean, don't build it up too much.
No, I'm like Trump about shit. Like this is what I learned from Trump is that like you got to like just get into it,
Yeah.
But it was a really fun episode. But you will learn that it's not about being that guy. It's fine to be that guy. Just know you're that guy.
Yeah.
Know you're that guy. I hate Halloween. I just don't go out on Halloween. That's just it. I'm not going to go out and like bitch at people about how I hate Halloween. Just stay home.
Right. Yeah.
So
I do like staying home. It's one of my favorite things.
It rules.
Yeah.
Staying home fucking rules.
This is the Everything Hurts podcast. It's a new one, whatever. For the first episode, we did have Gary Petersen, who's one of like just the funniest comics and one of my really, really good friends. Also someone who just understands that the world sucks and everything sucks. And we also just spent a lot of time complaining to each other. I think when me and Gary became friends, we were both going through breakups. And we were just like complaining about our breakups and our exes, and who are both perfectly lovely people, who I think we're both friends with now. But we were both going through breakups and just complaining about life, and also doing some hot riffs because Gary's a hot riffer.
Gary's a hot riffer.
I did not know that Gary didn't think that I liked him when we first met, but I love Gary.
Can I say this is kind of a surprising episode? I don't know Gary very well, but I know the legend of Gary.
It's interesting because I feel like he's friends with a lot of your friends.
So my assumption of him, because he's friends with so many of my dirtbag friends, was I was like, oh, Gary's probably like a real big ball buster. He's from Boston.
Yeah.
All we learned about him in this episode, well, we learned a lot about him in this episode, but great dad is one of the things that we really, I think, concluded here.
He's going to be a great dad. We learned about the people that inspire him. Should we leave that a surprise?
Yeah, let's leave that a surprise.
We'll leave that a surprise.
It's not who you think it's going to be. When I say a comedian from Boston is inspired by somebody, I don't think you're going to guess who Gary's inspired by.
Yeah. The only like this person, I'm inspired to fucking jack off when I see him. But
Hell yeah.
Do women say jack off?
I've heard chicks will say jerk off sometimes, and
off.
I go back and forth between whether I like it or not. I kind of like it when a chick says jerk off, but I kind of don't like it, and I'm not sure. Have you ever?
Because I say jack off, but I do say jerk off, but like I do picture this when like, and that's not what we do.
No,
but I hate all the other terms for it. Like they're like, oh yeah, say like you're playing the DJ, diddling your skittle,
flicking the bean.
I hate that.
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
Yuck.
Either. I'm not a bean dude, so it always was like a weird was always a weird
also,
thing.
like it just that paints the image of just like doing that, like and and I don't want to give guys the illusion that that's what you do, because I feel like a lot of guys would just start flicking it
like it's a bop it game. Although, you know what, bop it could have been more useful that way. Bop it could have taught people how to finger in a more, but that's a different.
Yeah, they should have a bop it that teaches men how to make women come.
I would give that to my son on his 13th birthday after the bar mitzvah.
Be like, fucking. What would those be?
There's flick it. There's lick it.
Lick it. Spit on it. Just don't do this thing. Yeah. Don't do that thing.
Well, that's all we know. I'm sorry.
If you're going to do that, just do it with your dick.
I see. Okay. All right.
You know?
Okay.
The point of the fingers is that you can curve it.
And you get of course. Yeah.
This is how we're starting this up.
So Gary was an amazing first guest. To be honest with you, if I would love to be introed with fingering techniques.
Yeah. You know what? I think Gary's a guy who probably knows how to finger. A sensitive guy knows how to finger.
True. Yeah.
You know, and Gary's a sensitive guy. He's a guy who doesn't take shortcuts, because like I can tell when a guy's not good at fingering. I can tell when they're that guy.
I can see it in their eyes. Fourth Red Bull in, you're like, he's one of these guys. Yeah.
If I was a dude, I'd probably be that guy. I'm a Red Bull guy.
I'm a Red Bull guy. I am that guy. So, God bless the old lady who lives with me.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to describe her.
The old lady who lives with you. Oh, Red Bull is so gross, but so great.
I have 4 a day.
I used to. I definitely stopped that because I felt like my heart, especially when I, which we talked about on this episode, when I got diagnosed with ADD and I started being prescribed Adderall, I could not take Adderall and have 4 Red Bulls.
Well, you were doing the 4 Red Bulls because you didn't have the Adderall.
Exactly.
So self-med. That's the funny thing about the energy drink thing is when you see people drink, there's this like douchebag kind of thing around it. But in actuality, it's actually a mentally ill person trying to treat themselves.
It's self-medicating.
Most of the times, it's a guy who's depressed and his dad told him that depression is gay. Yeah. So now he's drinking Rockstar.
Yeah.
4 a day.
Like he's just like, I don't know why I'm tired all the time and I need all these fucking energy drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
It's get on Prozac. That's
basically.
Yeah. I did used to have this thing. I still kind of do, where I'm like, I'm fucking tired all the time. And how are people not tired all the time? How do people get through life and not have to take 5 naps a day?
I have no idea, but I have horrendous news.
What's that?
The beginning, this like awesome intro that we did, no video was recorded.
All right.
But we got all the audio. Okay. So I don't know what to do with that.
So we re-record it with me just lip syncing to that.
Everything hurts. Everything hurts. Fucking life sucks. Everything hurts.
Gary, welcome to the couch.
Thank you.
Do you like it? I feel like it's a ballsy move for me to do a white couch.
Why?
I am bleeding. That's how we're starting this out.
I'm bleeding from my nose recently.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. Didn't you tell? Why was that?
I sneezed, and it was my friend was like, I'm going to go get us a table at this brunch place. And then I was like, yeah, let me just wipe my nose. And then there was blood everywhere, all over my face.
Oh.
And I was like, I can't walk into pancakes like this.
I feel like someone told me a much more interesting nosebleed story recently. I thought it was that one, but it was just I sneezed.
It was gang related.
Someone fucked my nostril, and
Can I take that nosebleed story again?
No, it's done.
That's fine. You look great.
Thank you. I do. I have knee-high boots. Here's the thing. I had a podcast before.
Sure.
Didn't do video, but now we got to do video because it's what the people want.
Yeah.
You know.
And that was WTF with Mark Maron. That was you.
That was my podcast. Now I got to have video, so I have to like look presentable. Actually, like after a few episodes, I'll probably be like, fuck that, and I'll be in sweats. But like for the first few, I'm gonna like put my best foot forward until the listeners get more comfortable with me. Right now, we're in a new relationship where I'm like on my best behavior,
Sure.
acting like I'm not crazy. I've got the knee-high boots on, but you know, after a few episodes, I'm gonna be like a year into the relationship. I'm gonna be farting in front of them. But for now,
You're gonna eat off a knife.
I'm doing my makeup. You know, yeah, I don't know. You're visiting here because you live in Boston now.
Which you're
and
not happy about.
Really, I'm not happy about it. This is my intervention. I'm just trying to get you to move back to LA.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I love Boston. I grew up there, and it's, you know, it's a very weird time, I think, to live anywhere in America. It's all very like, what can you do? Where can you go? And
Yeah.
it seems like Massachusetts is fitting me. Plus, I have family. I take care of some family there. I don't know if this helps convince you that it's a better move for me.
Well, you're just like the least abrasive person I've ever met from Boston.
Yeah.
They're often very, not to be statist or whatever, but they're often very loud and in your face in a way that I like. It's just a lot,
Yeah.
you know?
You don't know if someone's threatening you or complimenting you.
And you don't have the accent. What happened to the accent?
I don't know. I never had it. And it comes out as like certain words, and people are like, what? Draw.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to put that in the draw.
Yeah. That's what my grandma was from New Jersey, and she moved to California when she was a teenager, and just immediately the first thing she tried to do is get rid of her New Jersey accent because she hated it. And but every once in a while, even like, you know, as a 60-year-old woman, it would come out and we'd all make fun of her and she would get very self-conscious.
I was
Bless her memory.
like, because you're Orange County,
Yeah.
but you don't sound like you don't believe COVID happened.
What? Oh, right. Yeah. Dude, I didn't even know Huntington Beach. I'm from Huntington Beach. I didn't even know the reputation that it had until I moved out of there. Like, I just always knew that I didn't really feel like I fit in there, and I just felt like everyone was like hot and blonde and mean. And I just never felt like I fit in there. And then when I moved out and I heard the way people talked about Huntington Beach and saw them on the news, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place, though.
I think the reputation of Boston, the old, hard-nosed Irish or Italian at war with each other types of the cities that moved out into the suburbs and fucked each other and made a blend of people and mixed with the education that brings in people from all around the world in the city. The city's actually really, really, really diverse, but they're all kids in school.
Diverse,
Like-
as in they're Irish and Italian.
No, like there's like
I feel like that's what diversity is in Boston. They're like, yeah,
Protestant.
we have Irish white people, we have Italian white people.
what else
we
do you
have,
want?
what are the other? We have Polish white people. Are Polish people white? I don't know anything.
Not to us. No, like like this. I think that's been a big thing, but it is. I've noticed how moving away and coming back to Boston, I've noticed how it is not as diversified as a city as, like, you know, Los Angeles is a huge example. New York, or even like you go to other places like Connecticut. You go to those places, you're like, there's a mix of people, and the mix really only exists, I think, still within the school systems, the postgraduate level especially.
Yeah.
Neighborhoods are definitely still segregated and treated shitty and not funded well.
In the school systems.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems. But I think the culture in terms of, like, I went to a Red Sox-Yankees game, and it wasn't like a violent slugfest.
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed for that. And then there was this, it was during Pride Month at Fenway, which historically has always been like a really homophobic place. Just like in my youth, like that's what you go and
That's where you go to like yell at gay people.
yeah, like it was like violence would happen outside. People would yell those slurs at other players from other teams all the time. And like growing up, that's what I would just see.
Yeah.
And then there were these two women that one proposed on the like Jumbotron thing. And then people were like, yeah. And they were like going nuts. It was like really heartwarming and beautiful. And then people were becoming more like of a fan of it. They were like, yeah, fucking kiss her. And I was like, it broke through tolerance and like acceptance and love. And it became more like, this is annoying as somebody
Right.
that
It wasn't.
just proposes at a game.
Yeah. Well, no, because it wasn't. I feel like women kissing and guys going like, yeah, that's not tolerance and love. That's just like the fact that like creepiness and horniness outweighs any homophobia that could possibly exist.
Yeah, possibly.
Do guys actually, out of curiosity, like? What do you think, Gary? This is actually going to turn to you.
Sure.
I was like, how am I supposed to know?
Do you think the lesbian, like girls kissing, do you think that men actually like that, or it's just like a thing that all of us have collectively pretended to like for centuries? This is a theory I have because I don't care about it. I mean, I'm happy for them when they're kissing or whatever, but I'm not like, oh, that's so hot.
It's
And
more
I've
like
never
something-
been that way, but I for sure pretended it when I was in like the 11th grade.
It's something where you turn to your boys and you're like, nice.
It looks pleasant. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but it's like I think there was always this thing where it was like chicks kissing, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know. What do you think?
I think the idea is it's a false idea sold to us because like if you're showing a couple of models or porn stars or whoever just going at it and they're beautiful in makeup and lighting and all that stuff, that's totally different than like my Aunt Patty and Bear, her wife, them kissing. I'm not like fucking boy. It's like I don't like PDA. That's a thing. Like I really don't enjoy that
Straight,
in any
gay,
way.
whatever it is.
Yeah, it's wrong. keep it at home. But I think like if it's pretty people, even two pretty fucking dudes, I'm like, good for them.
Yeah, it's good.
If they're not that I'm watching a lot of dudes make out, but did you watch Narcos Mexico or Narcos?
No.
There's a really good storyline for a prominent Colombian drug dealer, a cocaine trafficker, who's like named Pacho, but he's a known gay man. And the storyline in it, like there's a lot of like, he's a really handsome actor. And there are a lot of moments where he's just like full on making out with like a really hot dude. And then he'll just pull a guy apart with like his car. Like it's an awful thing. But I'm just like, yeah, good for him. That's a good looking dude with another good looking dude.
I do enjoy watching two hot men. Well, I think just two hot people making out in general.
Yeah. Hot
Is,
people always.
I like to watch it.
Couple of uggos, no thanks.
Yeah, no one wants to see that. I don't know. I mean, if it's in a sweet way, like it makes me happy. I like it when old people kiss each other.
Yeah. What about one uggo, one hot? Like when Michael Jackson and Lisa Marie, what was that?
Presley?
Yeah, when they would kiss.
Did they kiss? Did that ever happen? I don't know if they ever kissed.
Oh, they did
Did
on
they?
camera, and it was like cringy because it
When
was.
hot people and ugly people kiss, I think to myself, that's a hot power dynamic going on right there. Like I like what's going on.
Yeah.
I like that one of them is lucky and one of like I picture myself as the ugly person in that scenario where I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if a super hot person kissed me? Maybe it's possible.
I do feel like my boyfriend is much better looking than I am, and honestly makes me feel really good about myself. I feel like, yeah, I'm funny, I have a personality, and probably a bomb pussy, because like it just I got like you gotta assume like when you see someone who is with someone hotter than them, like they have something. Because for me, it's not money. Like he has more money than me. This is his place. But it's I got something. I have to assume, you know.
A bum pussy, like a bum knee.
Bomb.
Oh, bomb. I, thought it was
I might have a bum
like
pussy.
You blew it out in high school. Could have gone pro, but this fucking thing fell apart.
Oh man, I mean, bums have been inside of it, but not anymore.
That's your Huntington accent.
That's not honey. What would be a honey? What would you? I feel like a orange.
White power. Is that
No,
it?
no, Orange. I feel like Orange County is more like a bro accent. Can you do an Orange County kind of?
No, I can't do an Orange County accent. I'm West OC, which is the forgotten part of Orange County, Anaheim and what have you.
Oh, yeah.
I never grew up with the OC that I fantasized about, which was the white supremacy OC.
Yeah.
As a young Arab boy, I wanted to be accepted by them so much.
I never knew that was like a thing. I always thought like we were just like Surf City, like I never knew that was our reputation when I was younger.
I was fed it from the show The OC, which I always thought was like millionaires who would adopt other white kids.
Well, yeah.
Just because he's pretty.
I never actually watched The OC. I will say everything I know about Boston, I feel like, is from television. Yeah. Boston to me is like Cheers and Ally McBeal.
No.
And I used to want to move to Boston because I wanted to be Ally McBeal. That's why I almost became a lawyer. That's why I wanted to move to Boston. I thought I was going to be like this quirky, cute girl in short skirts who's a little crazy and practices law in Boston. I wanted to model my entire life off of Ally McBeal.
There are a couple cinematic things, TV and film, that I think have captured moments of Boston, but they're very brief. And,
what's that?
And these are them. In Gone Baby Gone, when Casey Affleck, the private detective, is trying to figure out information on like a lost little girl, and he goes to this very seedy bar that people see him talking to a guy, and then he tries to get up and they just lock the door and he has to pull out a small gun and be like, I'm gonna fucking kill you if you don't let me out of here. That's one piece that I think is very Boston.
Because the gun is small?
It's just like you walk into a bar, you don't know who's watching you, and all of a sudden everything turns where it's like, now there's a real conflict of my life and death. That's a section that's very real.
That's kind of hot. That's like Boston's sexy.
It's a little scary.
Danger.
A little scary.
You never know what's going to happen. Adrenaline.
And then The Departed, when it's just, like the cops.
Ramsey just fist bumped into the air.
Thrilled to know that there's something real in The Departed. The only movie I can watch repeatedly.
The guy fucks up, and Mark Wahlberg looks at him and goes, I'm the guy that does his job. You must be the other guy. That is our culture. Yeah. Everyone's mean, honest. You fucked up. And I'm going to let you know right now. You fucked all of this up.
Yeah.
And there's no offering of solution to your problem. It's just you're at fault. And I think that's kind of like small sections of it. But overall, pretty... I kind of like that dynamic, that chaos. I love it.
I do like straightforward people. Like I feel like everyone I get along with the most is either, which is funny because I feel like I never really fit in OC, but everyone who used to live in OC that now lives in LA, like all the comics from OC, are the people I get along with the best. Yeah. Whereas like when I was in Orange County, I felt like I didn't get along with anybody. So I feel like maybe there's a thing about people who move out of Orange County, which is also what I figured out about Florida, because I realized that I love a lot of people who move from Florida to here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't get it. Like Florida has this reputation of like these people, but then like everyone I meet from Florida, I fucking love. And they're like, because we were the ones that wanted to get the fuck out of Florida.
Yeah, I dated a very lovely woman from Florida, Carmen Morales, very funny comedian for years.
Yeah. And, my friend Katrina
she
Davis.
was had great sense of humor and was very... And it was like, we would go back and she'd be like, this is going to be, you're going to meet some people.
Yeah.
And like, we'd go out to these shows in the middle of nowhere, and it would be that type of like, their whole life is a very different set of ethics. It's, I got to drink beer, going fishing.
Which is fine. I mean, like.
That's their thing.
That's their thing. And look, I don't want to cut off any part of, well, whatever. Like if you don't like that we're making fun of your state, I don't want you listening anyway. Fuck you. I'm not gonna pander to Florida. Actually, I will say I went on tour recently with our friends Keith Carey and Tom Goss.
Oh, so funny.
They're hilarious, and we had a great time when we did a run. We did like Philly, Pittsburgh. And just kind of like went like East Coast, South, kind of, I don't know. And we ended in Jacksonville,
I love Jacksonville.
and it was like probably the best show.
Yeah.
Like everyone was so down. I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go. I'm doing fucking abortion jokes in Florida, you know. It was same with, I did them in Alabama too, but it was a college town. We did Auburn, Alabama, so I feel like college towns are a little more like chill.
Yeah.
But actually, yeah, like Jacksonville was pretty rad. So, you know,
Theory.
What's-
The worse a place is to live, the better it is for comedy. That's why comedy in Los
Yeah.
Angeles stinks. That's why comedy in Vancouver stinks.
Well, that
Like,
makes
Any of
sense.
these places where life is wonderful,
Yeah.
comedy is fucking trash.
yeah, because
So
they
that's-
could be doing literally anything else.
And they could be, and they care, and you do a
Yeah.
joke about abortion, and they're like, that's a very serious subject. Why are
Yeah.
you talking about it? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And maybe they're right, but
Yeah.
anywhere where life is good, comedy stinks.
That's actually, I would agree with that.
I've
I like doing comedy in the middle of nowhere where like the only thing there is to do is like meth and get pregnant.
trailer park right next to the Chinese buffet.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. I definitely get more uncomfortable when I pull up and it's like, oh, I got to talk to a guard and then drive through a gate and get to like a clubhouse. And I'm trying to put my shitty car next to all these very nice cars.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is, I did one of the worst feeling like, oh, we're back to this again was maybe like my fourth or fifth gig when the pandemic vaccines like became, you know, okay to sort of go out and do shows and shit. And it was Nashua, New Hampshire. I was like, okay, that's not too far. And they're like, it's a VFW. I was like, I could go either way. It was for World War II veterans.
Oh, wow.
They were
On which side?
America.
No. Okay.
Survivors of World War II and the Korean War. It was so like, I was stepping into, I walked through the door, they were doing a ceremony of the fallen, which is where they set a table for each branch of the military
Yeah.
and like set plates and scatter spilled salt. And it's a very like weird, like uncomfortable thing. And then they did the Pledge of Allegiance. They did the national anthem. They sang God Bless America, had a prime rib dinner and gave these people cheesecake. And they were like, now a comedy show.
Oh my God.
And their kids that took them there, that was for them basically, because all the adults who were, you know, survivors of Korea or World War II were basically asleep at the table.
Yeah. How did you open?
I told them that I'm former Old Navy, and that got enough of like, it was like, okay, that's enough of support of the crowd. And then I kind of riffed a little, and then I made fun of some of the veterans for, I was like, you may be a veteran, but you did cut me in the prime rib line.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
But there were legit like people that you would call heroes, and you'd be right. They're guys that like pulled other guys out of fucking foxholes
Yeah.
in Okinawa, and they're still 90, driving themselves. It's New Hampshire. And there was a local ROTC gun, like twirling shit, like all this military stuff, and then you know, jokes that had to be PG.
Well, I always wonder, like, because I feel like a lot of, like, that happens at gigs where they'll do something sad or weird and be like, let's do a moment of silence for, like, this person in our hometown that died. And then they're like, anyway, here's Nicole Becannon. It's like, do I address this? One time, me and Keith and Jesse Johnson went and did a gig in, it was like up in, it wasn't Mammoth. It was like a town it was like a very small town, and everywhere in this town there were missing person posters for this little girl.
Oh my God.
Like everywhere you went in this town, there were these missing person posters. And Keith decided to, you know, make jokes about it. And it turned out, it's a very small town, so it turned out that the girl's mother was there, and she is outside talking to Keith, and she's just talking like, yeah, I'm her mother, whatever. And then she just starts going, and this fucking town, they all think I killed her. I didn't kill her.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh fuck, I think she killed her, dude.
That goes to our business. It's like, for us to be hired anywhere, there has to be a void of joy.
Yeah.
There has to be something that they just don't have, which is like fun or laughs or relief. And then for them to bring in the relief, be like, right before that, we're going to remind them about the saddest things going on right now. I've called timeout on like, they brought me up like cold from that. This is a pro move that I learned, because I used to just be like, well, now I got to do 30 after the cancer speech, where I just go, we're going to take 5. Why don't you get your drinks?
Yeah.
And because I'm not going to I'm not going to sit there with that energy and die a miserable death because they don't know how to run a show.
Right.
Like I've just taken control of shows and overstep my bounds, and then the person like looks at me and I'm like, no, trust me. I'm like, trust me. Just take my hand. Trust me. I know what this is, and you're wrong. And I'm not trying to control it. I'm just like, give them a minute.
Right.
Give them like just a little breath, and we'll be fine. And it is.
Yeah.
But you can't just take hate like one spectrum and throw it in the other and expect everybody to be like, this is a fun night.
That's a good instinct, because my first instinct is always just like immediately make fun of what just happened. It's just, sometimes it goes well, but usually not.
Because that's our coping.
Yeah.
That's our fucking.
Yeah. We're like, I don't want to deal with this, like, you know, so I'm just going to like gloss over and be like, but it comes from like childhood. Like I realized this recently, like, if you have a lot of like fighting in your home, you always want to be the tension breaker.
Yes.
You know? And so like that's just an immediate instinct when there's tension to try and diffuse it. But a lot of times it creates more tension.
I got yelled at Thanksgiving for making fun of the Korean War.
Are the people in your family really you know, gung-ho about
pro-Korea?
they're pro-Korea?
No.
Credit to Gary on this one. Not a war that doesn't get made fun of enough. The Korean War. Someone making fun of the Korean War makes me so happy.
But my family, I really didn't realize how morose and down my family is. And when there were like children around, they would have to tone that down. And they would have to like, ooh, like play, like, you know, they would kid it up, but there were no children anymore, no little kids.
Yeah.
So we talked about mental. The exact words are, "Your mentally retarded Uncle Albie died alone of pneumonia." The Korean War book that your grandfather has, he's going to give you a copy and tell you the story of it, and then. It was just everything you brought up, they would bring up a downer side to it.
Yeah.
And my grandfather starts talking about this fucking book called like Halen Morning Calm. It's a terrible book. And it's about this Korean War veteran, and he like survived by jumping off a death march, and they machine gunned all the other soldiers because he jumped, and he lived by being on the bottom of this pile of dead soldiers and crawled out and walked across Korea to find escape routes. And he's told this story like 3 times that day about this dumb book. And I was just like, it's like nobody's fucking, my sister's new boyfriend's there. No one's asked him a fucking question. I don't think anyone knows his name because they haven't talked to him. They've talked at him.
Dude, my family does that to my brother's boyfriend too. They're like, he never talks. I'm like, you've literally never asked him one question.
You haven't gotten any information about him.
And sometimes you're like, I don't even know if this guy's part of the family or he's like a friend. Like, I can't even like gauge where this guy's at. Because I've been to like girlfriend dinners where it's like, oh, that's just like our uncle's friend or whatever. And you're like, oh, great. Like, but that's such a fucking bizarre situation to be in.
Your first introduction to a family holiday, no one talks to you, they talk at you. And my grandfather's going on and on about this book, about a body, piles of people, bodies everywhere, machine gun down. And then he like hands him this book. And then I was like, well, that's how you get the book is you have to get a machine gun and you kill a bunch of people. And whoever's at the bottom of the pile gets the book in the end and then hands it on. So, Alex, you're going to have to do that for when you take the book. And he was like, it was so stupid, a suggestion of like, this is how the book passing on works. My grandfather got so mad. And I'm like, we've just been talking about death for 4 hours in the worst way. I can't sit here and like have a turkey meal around this. It's just a bummer.
See, I like to, when I'm around my family, I like to overshare about my sex life to make them uncomfortable. It was my mom's birthday, and I was with my aunt and my mom, and we were like wine tasting, like whatever, and I started just talking to them about like because I forget how it came up, but then they were like, Nicole, like, you think that you're like so much more, like I bet that, like, my aunt was like, I bet I've slept with more people than you, and I was like, okay, and I was like, that's cute, and she was like, can you count on more than one hand? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, more than 2 hands? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, well, then you had me beat. And I was like, well, do women count? They were like, what? And I was like, I don't know, like, I've had like some 3-ways. One 3-way was like me and 2 women, and they were like, Nicole, like, we don't need to know all of this.
They started it.
I don't remember how it started. With my mom, it's a little, it's okay. I can go too far, and she'll be like, Nicole, but like if I bring like literally anything up in front of my dad, he just like
shuts down.
Yeah, does not want to hear it.
Yeah.
But it is hilarious.
And it's not trying to compete. It's just like, oh, you wanted to be honest?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you everything. And then people are like, Gary.
Well, and my parents will, like, if they come to like a show, like, I'm not going to like tailor my material, so they're going to hear like everything, you know, but unless for some reason, like, if it's about the current relationship I'm in, I won't do it in front of my parents, because I don't want them to look at my boyfriend and be like, that's the guy that she did anal with for the first time, you know, like, which I have a joke about now, but I'm not going to do it in front of my parents because I don't want my dad to look at my boyfriend and be like, he's been in her asshole. Because he likes him right now, you know, like.
You think that would turn him against the thought?
I don't know. I mean, like, I just think like he just like couldn't. I don't know. I think his brain would break.
If I met if I was your father meeting your boyfriend, and
Yeah.
then because I know him,
Yeah.
and then knowing that he got into your asshole, I would go, you know what? That's because he's made her feel so safe. Like, this guy's a good dude.
It's true.
Now, if it was a really cool, like a super, like, slick, cool pickup artist kind of guy, then I would be like, this guy's a piece of shit who manipulated my daughter. So I think it depends on who you're letting into your asshole.
Well, the real reason, well, no, not the real reason was that it felt safe, but also
Sure.
the real reason might also make, because my dad's a little like homophobic, but the real reason which I talk about on stage, that my boyfriend's bisexual, and that's like the perfect person to try anal with for the first time, because, like, you know how cops have to get pepper sprayed and tasered during training, so they know what it feels like before they do it to somebody else. It's like that.
Yeah, it's perfect. What about if you were and if like it was same size, like if you had a son that was like a comedian doing anal with, like, that you're in the other end of it, son doing anal with his girlfriend, and that was your son. I think like
You'd be like, hell yeah, dude. Like,
I think I wouldn't care either way, like the safeness or the like, it's none of my fucking business has been my big creed of the year.
that is well, when it comes to your daughter's just sexuality in general, I feel like dads want to get way too involved in whether or not their daughters are having sex. Like, it just like, just stay out of it.
Yeah.
Just stay the fuck out of it.
Yep.
It's creepy. It's creepy to like get too involved in any way.
Did you
like
do you have a parental sex talk at all?
not really. I mean, my dad was just kind of like, men are evil, don't ever trust them. They'll do anything to get in your pants, and they lie.
That's a
And,
great talk.
like that was like, well, that's why I feel like that's why I lost my virginity so late, because I was like, I am terrified of men. Like they're gonna have sex with me, and then they're, I don't know, gonna fucking punch me in the face and leave me in the dirt and be like, I never loved you, bitch. Like that's what I pictured.
Yeah.
Wasn't too far off. No. But yeah, I just, I never really had, I don't remember really having a sex talk with my parents. No.
No. Me neither.
I can't even blame. Like, think about how bizarre that has to be. Like, it's got to be.
And when do you do it, and why would you do it? Like, like when do you
Yes.
choose to do it?
There are much less uncomfortable conversations that I've put off for 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I go, like, I'm willing to cut some people some slack and go, like, I could just, that's a big gap to cross. Anal sex now, especially now you have to talk about a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's not just fucking anymore. Now it's like, listen,
You have to
when
be
they
like-
raw dog, be sure.
Yeah.
Use the word raw dog at some point.
Have a safe word.
Yeah, like it's so complicated.
You have to consent to every hole. Just because you consent to one hole doesn't mean you consent to the other hole.
That's definitely an optional card for every parent. I think they're like, will I do this or won't I? Should I hire someone to do it?
The thing is, now we live in the internet age, so it's like, as bad as that is, like, fucking Google it. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
or your friends. Like, really, you learn about sex from your friends, which is bad. You because they also don't know anything. But it's just the natural progression of growing up. Like, it's just. But that's why I don't think I could ever be a parent, because, like, when I think about it, like, even I have a sister that's 14 years younger than me. And I remember, like, when she was first going into middle school, I cried thinking about it, because I was like, I remember middle school, and I feel like that's when I, like, lost my innocence, like, not completely, but just, like, it was just the first time, like, kids were talking about stuff like that, or, like, and it, like, freaked me out. And I feel like middle school was just a terrible time in my life in general. And I just, like, I was like, how do you have a kid and just send them off with all these other kids who are probably terrible and, like, you have no idea they have this whole separate life now when they go to school and when they go off with their friends. It's a whole, like, you have no idea what's happening. My anxiety could not. I could not. I would be one of those, like, parents that track their kids' phones and shit, and I don't want to be that.
I wouldn't do that. I say that, but
Just not
I don't
gonna
have
have
kids.
kids.
I mean, no, I would have kids. I'm not against it at all. I asked my dad this question. I was like, "Did you plan to have kids? Did you, like, want to be dad?" He's like, "I didn't really think about it." I was like,
That's
"You
a
didn't
good-
think about it?" He's like, "Yeah, it was great. We just she got pregnant, and it was like, we're married, so we had kids,
Yeah.
and it was like that, like."
That's insane to
And
me,
he was
because
a
I feel
good
like that's
dad.
mostly, like, people just kind of, like, nonchalantly have kids. Like, they're just like, yeah, just, what else am I doing?
I think as comics, we have to make a meal out of nothing, right? We have to make a mountain out of a molehill, where, like, people flying in an airplane is such a big fucking deal. It's like the stereotypical stand-up bit. Like, having a human being to be responsible for might be blown out in our heads because of
Yeah.
our just general anxiety. But
I mean, it should be, though. Most parents, and even if they're good parents, most parents fuck up their kid for life. Like, even if they're good parents, there's always something that you do that scars your kid for life somehow and makes them insane and need therapy later on.
I think you're also deep inside you know what to do. You just know, it's built in you. Like, as long as you're not a sociopath that's gonna, like, fucking chain this thing to a radiator. Like, it's just gonna be in you to like, when I see my nieces and nephews, my cousins' kids, I see these little babies, and, like, they're running back and forth, and we're making noises, making fart noises and laughing, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it's easy. Just, you're around them. That's all they want.
Well, I mean, that's like being an uncle.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're like a parent, if you're like a mom, like you're responsible for them.
I felt like I could. I mean,
You think you could be?
Yeah.
Well, I think you'd be a good dad.
yeah,
Oh, Gary'd be a great dad.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
for a couple years.
And
then
I think honestly, here's the thing. I think I could be a good dad.
yeah, I think
I don't
so.
think I could be a good mom.
You'd be a great
It's
dad.
different.
Yeah, I really
It's
think-
different. I think I'd be a really good dad.
This is a thought I've had, is like, if I had a son, because I want my dad's approval. He's my world. I don't really have a relationship with my mother. She's gone. She just has a family somewhere else, just checked out, and that's what it is. And my dad's great. I love him, and he's everything. And I'm like, do I want his approval so much that it's like sad? Like I'm the worst. Like, am I the worst guy to want his father's approval? And then like I started thinking, and I was like, no, Evil Knievel's son, Robbie Knievel, is the worst, because his dad was shitty, and then he dressed like his dad, and then would jump canyons that his dad did not come and watch, just for his dad's attention, wearing a leather suit.
Not another person could relate to Robbie Knievel more than Evil Knievel, and he still wouldn't
Yeah.
do it.
I'm busy.
Oh man.
But it's the Grand Canyon.
Did your dad withhold approval at all?
Oh, yeah, it still does.
Yeah.
He gave me like a side hug at the airport.
Does he say I love you?
Yeah, no. But I'll sneak it in, and he'll kind of, yeah, Mary, love you.
I always
that
did.
way.
I did this bit because my boyfriend's dad doesn't say I love you, and I'll hear him on the phone, and he's very affectionate, my boyfriend, and so he'll go, I love you, Dad, and then his dad every time will just go, take care. every time. So I started doing a bit for a while where every time he would say I love you to me, I go, take care. He didn't find it,
Yeah,
but
I've gotten it at times. I know it's there, and he's expressed it in different ways. So that's been like, that's what I tell myself. And you can't.
he has a different love language.
Yeah, and it's a control thing. We talked about being in control, being
Yeah.
comedy controllers. Like, you got to
Yeah.
get them to laugh when you want them to laugh. At
Yeah,
the
yeah,
things
yeah.
you want them to laugh at, the things that you're
Yeah.
scared of, but you've put it in a box that is okay to laugh at
Yeah.
or something. And like, same thing with other things in life, like being afraid or wanting these things. It's like, oh, you can't control how they act or think. You can tell them like,
Yeah.
hey, it hurts my fucking feelings that you don't do this shit. What are you
Yeah.
doing? And I have a very bizarre chiropractor. He's a bad neck and back, and he's like so, like,
Affectionate. He does tell you that he loves you.
he pets me. No, he was in Vietnam. He, like, the first meeting, he like grabbed my ankle and goes, "Do you dwell on things?" I said, "A little bit." He goes, "Stop it! What are you gonna dwell? And it's just gonna hurt you."
What is it? What does it have to do with your ankle?
That's where you store it. And it was like, all
You
right.
store dwelling in the ankle?
Yeah, I thought it was horse shit. And then like he started like moving things around and clicking things in the right spot where he felt like a human being again. And he's like, just live your life knowing you said everything you wanted to say.
Wow.
Don't hold back on that.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
I have gotten really into like kind of like body work as far as like you do. I do think that I thought it was bullshit for a while, but I do think you store things in parts of your body. And like I do like this kind of like yoga meditation stuff with this girl who worked at my boyfriend's rehab, and he was like, you gotta like see this lady. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be such bullshit, because it was like very like spiritual, like breathing and like whatever. But I was talking to her about how I catastrophize everything.
Yeah.
Like, and you might be able to relate to that just because I know you deal with anxiety also, but just like I could like everything, when I'm in a certain place, everything is the end of the world. Like it's a problem. And I was telling her this, and she was like, yeah, so we want to work with your kidney because you're holding. I'm like, this is such bullshit. And then I don't know like what she did, but she had me do some movement. She had me, and I for the past week have felt just so much better. I don't know what the fuck she did, because all it was like movements and breathing exercises and her telling me to pretend I'm smiling at my heart or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
Which is embarrassing. But dude, fucking smile at your heart, guys.
like I met this very incredible woman. She moved here from Morocco for a marriage to this guy who was a piece of shit, and she got away from him and is like going through the immigration process alone. She's in asylum in America, pulling herself fucking up, and she's like a very devout Muslim woman, and she taught me a lot about herself and a lot of things. And she was talking about that stuff of like, you know, what she believes in certain things, and how she just is like, I have to believe this, and this is just the way it is for me, and things will work out, you know, God willing. She's inshallah, and she likes, yeah, and it's just some of that stuff that I never really grew up with any sort of religion type stuff.
Yeah.
Just wasn't for me and didn't feel it. And hearing stuff like that, where you just put your belief into something.
Yeah, just kind of like the universe, whatever it is. There is like something about just kind of getting in the mindset of things are going to happen the way they're going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if I am doing the best I can and being my best self and being kind to others and doing what makes me feel good and whatever, then everything is going to work out the way it's supposed to.
Right. You need
It's a nice thought.
principles and themes and rules for yourself.
Yeah.
And like, they're not necessarily everybody's rules, principles, themes, truths, whatever. And it helps steer that path of, you know, you're gonna fuck up, you're gonna do great. There's gonna be off kilter moments, like with depression. I'm big depressed. If you can tell from my face tone and how I dress, I am a big depressed guy, and but I don't. I've learned a lot to manage it.
Yeah.
And that's like the pandemic stuff in the last year and a half, and almost dying during COVID, having COVID. I was like kind of prepared from that, from just like, you know, when you've always felt like, oh, this is the end.
Yeah.
And then the world starts acting like, oh, it's really the end. And you're like, well, I've been at this speed for a while.
Yeah.
I can navigate it fine.
I do feel like everyone was just kind of put on a level playing field in that way. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I was like depressed and catastrophizing all the time already.
Yeah.
And then everyone just kind of came to that level. And I was like, welcome to the dark side, bitches. Like, we are all crying and drinking way too much and catastrophizing and wondering if the world's going to end every single day. And that's just where I was before that.
You needed 700,000 people to die here to prove it.
Yeah.
I just needed to accidentally spill my water at dinner 4 years ago. And I'm so sorry about that.
I swear to God, it is like that. Like sometimes, like if I'm in that mode, anything can set me off. Like I can't find my left shoe and I'm like just will burst into tears. And it seems insane from the outside, but to me, for some reason, it makes perfect sense that I am just everything is the worst because I can't find my fucking shoe.
I've become more animalistic with that, like in a good way. You know, like when a dog's mad, it just like barks and then it's just not mad the next second.
Yeah.
Like the thing that'll make me off, like I couldn't find my fucking earbuds and I'm like, well, I lost them. And I lost them because I put them in my fucking car. And then I got my fucking car serviced at Braintree. I never go to Braintree because they're a bunch of fucking thieves. And now I got to go accuse a mechanic of stealing my fucking earbuds that I can't get back. And I went through this whole thing and then went to there and was trying to be like, hey, I don't know where these are. They were in my car. I got it serviced. They're not in my car. The guy's like, well, my mechanic, he's been there 30 years. He's not a thief overnight. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, maybe it fell out. Did he see it? Can you help me? I'm very don't know, and that's causing a lot of this problem. And the guy was like, sort of helping in that condescending way, like, I'll talk to him. He goes in the back, and then I go home, and they're like on my desk. They're not even there. And I was relieved instantly and then embarrassed, but then I was like, who cares? And I called back, and it was like, I found them, and I'm sorry that I even brought this up, and I appreciate you even like humoring me, and I'm gonna write you a nice review about all this shit because I appreciate you kind of helped me out in that moment of chaos. And then I was just like, all right, go on with my day.
I feel like most people wouldn't take accountability like that.
That's the big step now.
Most people would be like, whatever, the guy was an asshole and condescending anyway, fuck them. Like, they probably would have stole my earbuds.
My old thinking would have been like, I would have called Toyota's manager like to talk and be like, Gary died. And I would have said that, don't worry about those headphones. And I would have to wear like a different outfit to get my car service there. They would hide my face. I would be like, I'd rather they think a human being no longer exists than own up to, I made a mistake.
Is there like only one Toyota within like 100 miles of you? Like you can't just go to a different one?
I'm not going to Woburn. It's too far. Braintree's 10 minutes away.
I do. Do you like beat up on yourself a lot? Like,
oh yeah.
I think that's a big thing I think that's a big thing in general with anxiety and depression and all of that is like, like say I can't find my shoe. God, I'm such a fucking idiot. Look at this place is a fucking mess. Look at what a mess this is. It's because I'm a fucking lazy piece of shit who doesn't clean up after myself. Like this fucking coffee's been sitting here for fucking 4 days. There's mold in it. It smells. I don't give a fuck because I'm a piece of shit. Yeah. And I can't find my fucking shoe. And now I'm going to be late and I'm a bad friend because I'm going to be late to this thing that I promised my friend that I would do. And whatever, and then I just cancel whatever it is because I can't find my fucking shoe, and then I go into bed and I cry about how I'm a terrible person, a bad friend because I just canceled on this thing, and then I find the shoe under my bed like 5 minutes later, and and then I'm like,
you start throwing yourself down the hill.
It's a huge spiral that you can take yourself on, and it's all your brain. Nothing actually happened. Nothing happened. Your brain did it all.
Yep.
Like
it's like the problem as well is that there is some standard you're comparing yourself to on a regular basis where you're like, I'm such a piece of shit. This person wouldn't do that, or somebody who thinks like this wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
If you can ever just get to a place where you're like, you know what? I'm a fucking pig. Like, it's part of what makes me a cool person.
I am getting to that point.
Where you're just like, fuck it. Like, you want all the good shit that comes with Nicole? You have to accept that sometimes she leaves a cup of coffee and it gets moldy. That's part of what the good, you know what I mean?
And this is going to be terrible sounding, and I'm sure this will be played back in my eventual failed campaign for president, but
just mark this clip here. Go ahead.
Matthew McConaughey really helped me. And I don't care that I laugh at how silly that sounds because he, number one, true detective, master of his craft. He's a master of his fucking craft.
He's also super hot in that.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And he is a really good actor. He's in some of the best movies of the last few years. Mud.
Dallas Buyers Club.
A fucking A.
Amazing.
He just like pushes
Dallas
himself.
Buyers Club was the AIDS one, right?
Yeah. It's like if Dazed and Confused had a very different spin-off for him.
Dazed and Confused from AIDS medication.
Yeah. He's just fucking all these high school girls. He gets AIDS.
What helped you? Was it his car commercial where he was like, he's just driving down the road? What does he say in that car? I feel like he does say something very inspiring. And you're like, what is this? And then it's a car commercial.
He had an hour or so talk on YouTube for a graduating class, and he talked about the 13 principles or truths or things that he does believe to be true. You can take with them what they want. And he did this very...
Before we get into that, what rabbit hole did you go down on YouTube? How sad were you, or were you jerking off and found, like, what led you to this?
I was like, if I'm always listening to the same old things, or if I'm always listening to podcasts, I got to do something different to switch up my own routine, to sort of get myself out of whatever funk I'm feeling, whether it's creative funk, a spiritual funk, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
I got to do something a little different, and that usually sparks something creative, and then I'm happy because I'm creating.
Okay.
So I was like, let's listen to somebody who has a really good like body of work that I respect, and see what they do and what they say and how they follow things. And he talked about these principles.
And you chose Matthew McConaughey.
I did.
Okay.
And it was a good choice. I'll send this to you.
Okay.
I listened to it.
Yeah.
It was not a motivational speaker type guy that's like, oh, he's there and he's selling a book and everybody's going to buy the book. It's like this guy he's in a very big industry. He's in a very big world. He's done a lot of things. And I respect his ongoing work in pursuit of his artistry. And then he started talking about like, you've got a ledger in your life and you got to balance things, and some things will be off a little bit. Like my personal relationship with my wife will be off because my body of work's going so well, and my friendship relationships with all my friends, that's not good because I've just been thrown into being this thing. So like he's got to look at his ledger every day and see where is he going, what needs to be balanced, what's off, what's over, what's under. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good piece of advice from that whole thing. And my therapist was like, I was talking about football and how I like it. And he's like, well, talk to yourself like a coach instead of like breaking yourself down like that, thinking of you're a piece of shit, you suck.
Yeah.
And I'm a Patriots fan. I love them. New England, go Pats. And
That's not allowed to be said on my podcast. I'm sorry. Can we cut that? Can we bleep it? Can we bleep that out? Bleep out.
well,
We'll bleep it out with a Patriots
they
logo.
sucked so bad as me growing up, and like they never had good coaches. They had a few awesome players they would just get their asses kicked every week for years. And then I got to see them win, and people turned and hated them because they had some of the best players, some of the best coaches, and all these other shit. But the idea of football, in general, just like guys with clipboards tell monsters to fight each other, and they do. And they don't get anything done unless they're all kind of directing in this chaos of a battle of trying to kill each other, trying to kick a ball, throw a ball, run a ball. And it's all directed within this very small 4 set moments on a field at a time. And I was like, that's the way I have to approach like a thing that's a problem, a thing that's going to fuck me up. It's like, well, where are we at? What's the scoreboard? How much time do I have? Can I get it done? What do I need to achieve this? Is it possible to get it done? No, not right now. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So
and that's much more productive than just being like, you're such a fucking piece of shit. Because you know what? I did realize, not just with really anything, doing that, like beating yourself up, you're not doing anything productive. It's actually like a cop out. Like I'm not going to change anything, but like it's going to make me feel like I'm doing something because I'm beating myself up for it. Like I know that the situation isn't what I want it to be. I know that I did something I didn't want to do, whatever. I'm not going to do anything to fix it, but I still feel like I'm doing something because I'm calling myself a piece of shit and laying in bed all day. And that makes me feel better about it. But like, I realized that sometimes I would do that. Like if say I was in a relationship and the person I was in a relationship with would approach me about like, hey, you did this and that like bothered me or whatever. And I would immediately go into, fuck, I hate myself, I'm a piece of shit, like whatever. And I would just get like depressed and cry and whatever. And they'd be like, oh no, it's okay, whatever. That doesn't actually fix anything. That is just, and it wasn't something like, I'm not like an intentionally manipulative person or anything like that. It's something you learn growing up, I feel. Like, just like as a kid, you learn mechanisms that, you know, if your parents are mad at you, this is what you do. Or like, you know, and so if I'm down on myself, they're going to build me back up. or like if I do something wrong and I'm beating myself up for it, but I'm not, it's all a cop out. You're not actually doing anything about it. So instead of immediately going into that, if you do analyze the situation and go, okay, this happened. What do I do about it? This is going wrong. What am I going to do about it? I did this thing that made this person feel this way. How can I change that behavior? And that's a much more mature way of dealing with things than just fucking beating up on yourself, which is really just like wallowing in self-pity.
Yeah. You gotta own it. You have to own it.
I pulled up some of this Matthew McConaughey
Okay.
clip. Now I'm missing the cable that's gonna play it on this TV right over here, but I'm gonna flip my phone so you guys can see it. I'll put it in the video.
All right.
It's 12. It's 12. He's giving 13 truths.
Okay.
And I'm gonna play just 1 minute of it, so you can tell me whether it's as inspirational as Gary believes it to be.
Okay.
Here we go. Because I'm looking at it, it looks very inspirational, and I'll tell you what, he's also like even hotter than I remember.
Is he shirtless? Because if he's not, I don't want to see it.
He's doing a really cool off, like, when actors do like or like super hot dudes pull off like a look off screen where you're like, just nobody could look like that on any given basis. But like, you're Matthew McConaughey, so your shirt is super low, your hair slicked back like a coke dealer.
That's the look he's rocking
Here, I'm
for
gonna
his
flip the phone.
motivational
Yeah.
speech.
Take
I
a
like
look.
it. Okay.
Can you guys hear that okay?
No, I can't hear anything.
Oh, now you can.
Yeah.
Don't try to make it that way. Life's not fair. It never was. It isn't now, and it won't ever be. Do not fall into the trap, the entitlement trap, of feeling like you're a victim. You are not. Get over it and get on with it. And yes, most things are more rewarding when you break a sweat to get them. Number 2.
There's the car.
Unbelievable is the stupidest word in the dictionary. Should never come out of our mouths.
He
Think
said
about it.
stupidest.
To say, oh, wow,
That's
what
not
an
in the
unbelievable
dictionary.
play. It was an unbelievable book, an unbelievable film, an unbelievable act of courage. Really? It may be spectacular, it may be phenomenal, most excellent or outstanding, but unbelievable? Give others and yourself more credit. It just happened. You witnessed it. You just did it. Believe it. What about the other side of unbelievable? You know,
When they
that
get to
side
rule
when we
3.
humans underperform or act out of our best character. For instance, man flies a suicide jet into the World Trade Center. Millions die from diseases every day that we have cures for. Bob the Builder swears that he's going to have your house built by Thanksgiving, and you can't move in
I'll turn
until
it down. That was
Christmas.
good enough. I was waiting for one Matthew McConaughey moment. I was waiting for one Matthew McConaughey moment to take us out of that. And that was
Oh
great.
my
Perfect.
God. So at what point during that speech did you start tearing up?
I said I'm gonna give it 10 minutes. It's still playing, I think.
Is this still playing? Oh, my bad.
But I said I'll give it 10 minutes, and then I watched the whole thing. I was on like a drive to work.
He is very engaging.
And charismatic. Like, you can
Yeah.
see there's a lot of talk of him running for governor in Texas. Without a question, he'll win. He's very engaging. You're like into it.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
And it's just common sense to me is like, I'm not going to listen to anybody that's not successful or in a place that I don't want to be. Why would you listen to that person?
Yeah.
And it's simple. It's not like a superstar that needs to be like Matthew McConaughey. It could be somebody that's like has a good life, that has a house, a car, their bills paid. They're not sweating. They don't look panicked. Every time you say what's up, how you doing, they're like, oh man.
Yeah.
And
you know, I used to be that person. Every time someone's like, hey, how are you? Like, I would just like launch into fucking self-pity. And like, nobody I used to think that people liked me because of that. Like, I used to think like, oh, like people want to help me. People want to like give me advice. Like people want to like whatever. But no, like I think people I saw pity as like love and affection and like whatever. And then I just thought like, oh, especially when I started doing comedy, I was like, this is me being vulnerable. If someone says, hey, what's up? I'm not just going to be like, great. This is me being vulnerable and real, you know, and people are going to like me for that. But like, you don't want to be that guy that's just like, every time someone's like, hey, what's up? Like, how you doing? And you're just like a fucking downer. And it's like, it's not fun. And I'm not saying like you have to be happy and positive all the time. Like, fuck that. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that like there is a level of like self-absorption that happens. And like, it's not, you just don't want to be that person. And it's not good for you. It's not good for your like brain and well-being.
Like, I think those first years of comedy for me were like, I would say things and watch people laugh at the things. And it wasn't stuff that I necessarily would be, if I were in the audience, would have laughed at as a spectator. And I was like, I didn't like my act like as a viewer. Like I was doing things that I thought would get response that did, because they followed a pattern. There was a rhythm. There was set up, joke, punt, all that shit. And then I started like reevaluating, like, what do I want to say? And what do I like about that? And then chased that. And then, those guys that like laugh at themselves on stage, it looks like a fucking party, like JB Smoove. Or Bernie Mac. Or
do you think that's real?
I believe it now, because I've started to become like, I'll get into a moment where I can be like very focused and stuff, but I can also like kind of throw myself laughing at the moment.
You make yourself laugh.
Yeah. And it's legit.
Yeah.
It's for me. Like I feel it. And it's the same thing I've said a lot. And I'm like, that is so funny. Like when I'm like working out a bit. It's not that, it's not there yet to be stage ready, but it's like this bit of, I wanted to be a bodybuilder when I was a kid, when I was 16. I got Arnold Schwarzenegger's book from 1980, which does give directions on how to use steroids properly.
The people you choose to inspire you are hilarious. Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Bruce Lee,
Matthew
Bob
McConaughey.
Dylan. Yeah, like that spectrum. I took pictures of my body shirtless to take, because you need progress pictures of your muscles.
Yeah. No, I've done that for weight loss, and it's I'll go through my phone sometimes, and there's like nudes, but not like sexy ones. There's ones where I'm like in front of the mirror, like like pushing my belly out and like this to the side, like going like this, because like I want to be able to look back later and be like, oh, look at all this weight I lost. But then I never actually lose the weight, and now I just have a bunch of like really embarrassing nudes in my phone that like aren't hot at all.
Yeah, I've 15-year-old me.
I go through looking for my vaccine card in my phone when they're like, go for the vaccine. And then like I'm like looking through it, and I'm like, oh God, there's a bunch of just like cellulite pictures in my phone.
The vaccine thing always makes me nervous. Every time I pull out the vaccine card, I'm like, wait, what is 3 photos away? It's always a bit of a nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah. I created a separate folder just for the picture of my vaccine. So it's just that. That's all it is.
They give us a rickety card in Massachusetts, like a punch card. They have to like it's all worn down it's like a library card. It's paper.
So you took pictures of yourself as well?
I to circle my calves. That's a real problem area.
That's what you wanted to beef up?
I had to make a symmetry, because if you want to be Mr. Olympia, you have to be genetically like beyond, but also proportionally perfect in many different ways. And at 16, I was like obsessing about this. And so I took the photos with like the wind up free film for life camera from Walgreens, and they would develop it for free. And then I dropped it off for a 1-hour photo. I came back, and they were like, we're not giving you these photos. They've been flagged. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, it's flagged for child pornography. And I was like, I'm the child in the pornography. And they're like, what? And I was like, well, Arnold says you have to look at your problem area. And my sister had worked there at the time, and I had to like drop her name to be like, I'm just her brother, and I'm a weird bodybuilder. And like, oh yeah, we've heard about you. Like, you work out at like 4 a.m. before 8th grade. I'm like, yeah. And they gave me the photos, and then they hired me 2 months later. So I had to work with all these people. I knew how weird I was.
Oh, well, like people who work there don't also do that. I feel like everyone does shit like that.
Does weird shit.
They just don't. I think so. Maybe not. Maybe I just do weird shit, and I have to tell myself everyone does weird shit.
No, I think everyone's a little weird.
Like, we all have the stuff that we do alone that we would never tell anybody, you know? Yeah.
I think this is good.
What's good?
Our talk.
You think so? I still haven't asked you the question that I asked you before the
yeah.
podcast. It's funny because so this is the first episode. Might get released in my. What do you think, Ramsey? It's good. It's good. This is the first episode of our podcast. We haven't even addressed that, but probably will. It's the first episode, and I was still trying to kind of figure out what this was, I wanted it to be a funny, like, comedy podcast about, like, the worst parts of being alive, which I feel like we've kind of done.
Yeah.
But I did ask you, and I texted it to you first, and I texted it to you with no context because I just thought that would be funnier. But you didn't even respond to it. You just respond to the other part of the text. I just texted Gary, what do you think is the worst part about being alive? And he just didn't respond to it. He was like, yeah, we'll go get coffee. Sure.
I want to make sure you weren't on a bridge.
I'm not sad enough. I need to hear more about what. No, but I do want to know what for you. What's the hardest part?
It's hard to pin it down, but the uncertainty, I think, is at the center of so much. Like not
Uncertainty,
knowing,
yeah.
on not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next. If this will affect that, will life work out? Can I make life work out?
And I think you have this idea when you're younger that when you reach a certain age, you'll have everything fit. Like everything will be certain. I have my job locked down. I have my fucking husband locked down. I have this locked down. Everything is certain in my life. I know what's happening. I don't think that ever happens.
You're right.
I mean, maybe for some people and their lives might be, boring, but I do think that, like, cause I was talking to, someone about this the other day where they were saying, like, I just don't know where my life's going. I don't want to, I've been doing this my whole life, but now I don't know if I want to do that and whatever. And they're like, I'm in my 30s. And I'm like, I think that life is constantly reevaluating where you're at. Like, I don't think that ever stops. I think you can be 60 and be like, am I still doing what I want to do? Like, why don't I go do this for a little while? Like, it never ends. And I think that's hard. I think uncertainty, like, it's scary. And for anxiety, like, it's the worst. But I also think it's kind of exciting. It's nice to know that you're not always going to be where you are right now.
Yeah, that whole like expectation.
Yeah.
And Matthew McConaughey calls it the Entitlement Trap. Is
I read that.
the linear? We go through a very much like a linear process. I think if you're growing up in basic public school like I did in America, you go through this experience of you have 12 years, you have 12 grades, 4 seasons. After those 12 years. You're expected to go to another 4 years of this to pick a direction of study that will lead to a career. And then that career, you'll choose which path of success you want based off that career. It was very much like X, then Y, then Z. And what they should have told us, I think, along the way is like, we have a regimented system that we're going to pull out from underneath you. You don't have to follow it. Here are many paths, infinite paths. But here are the results of some paths. If you go this way or that way, you don't just have to go to college. You don't just have to like move away and try to follow your dreams and do that shit. Like you should take some time to kind of figure out or fuck up and give yourself a little bit of an allowance of trying and quitting and doing things again and again.
Yeah.
I think comedy's been the one thing I never quit. Like I was always there, and everything else was like, how do I make comedy more feasible? How do I pay my bills like this year and be able to do as much comedy as I want safely and the way that I want to do it and the places I want to do it? And it became like that. Like I'm gonna keep a job so I can fucking retire and enjoy my life and buy a motorcycle like I did, and I'm also gonna go and just buy a plane ticket, go to cities, perform, see friends, and live like that.
But the fact that you are the most afraid of uncertainty but ride a motorcycle is insane.
That's true.
Like, fucking motorcycles are like death traps. We were talking about this before, which it makes you happy, and you'd rather die happy, and I respect that.
If you drive it like an asshole, yeah, and it's other people you don't know about, but you have to be ultra present.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You're not worrying about.
Someone did tell me that they felt like they were. I used to have a roommate who rode a motorcycle, and she was saying that she thinks it makes her a better driver because you do have it is more danger and you are more present when you do
Huge incidents of ADD with people who ride motorcycles. I just found this out, that they did a study on this, and I think it is because a lot of people with ADD very much feel like they need to have it's two things. It's I need to have the full focus, and also there's a dopamine issue.
Right.
So they're like, a lot of people just need that. Do you suffer with any kind of ADD or anything like that?
Dopamine, probably.
Probably the
I have
depression.
I have
Everyone's a
ADD.
comic. Yeah, for sure. Me
Yeah.
too. A really, really bad ADD.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you should get a motorcycle.
Yeah. I do. We should do an episode kind of about them. I've learned. I didn't know that I had ADD until like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I feel like most people figure that out as a kid.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the like hyperactive kind. So I wasn't like a disruption in class or anything like that. So like it just kind of went unnoticed. But I was like, I just was so unfocused. I never turned in my homework. I was like, it was that kind of like I'm always in a fog.
Yeah.
And then I figured out that a lot of the symptoms of my depression were actually ADD.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you feel great. It turns out that people who get the later diagnosis typically have the higher IQs, because the later the diagnosis typically means you were able to figure
I
it
did well
out.
in school.
And you did well in school.
I ended up I did well on tests. I got into UCLA. Like no one thought. My brother, they absolutely were like, he has ADHD for sure. Like they were like, because but he's also very smart, but he was just very hyperactive and got in a lot of trouble and stuff. Whereas I was just like more quiet and just kind of like would drift off and look off into space and daydream or whatever, but I ended up doing well on tests anyway. So that makes sense. I still think I'm dumb. Like I do think I'm dumb. I like, and this had become a new premise in my comedy. Like I think this is gonna be like, in building an hour, it's my quest to be a hot dummy. Like I just want to be dumb and confident and happy. Like I was talking about, I don't watch the news. Like I don't want to know what the fuck is going on. And maybe that makes me dumb. Like maybe that's like, I don't know what's going on in the world and that makes me dumb, and that's fine. But like I was saying, like I'm trying to like build a thing around this, but like also, who doesn't watch the news is like fucking Buddhist monks probably, like, and like what's the difference, between like, it really just, figuring out like what you actually do want to focus on. And like, I want to focus on dumb shit. I don't want to focus on stuff that, is sad or like, I don't know. I'd just rather be fucking dumb.
There's a million ways to be dumb and a million ways to be smart too,
Yeah.
right? So you're I think many people your parents would say you're very smart in some ways.
Yeah.
Not knowing what the fuck is going on with the news is a godsend, to be completely honest with you. And you're being honest with yourself too, where you're like, I just don't fucking care.
Right.
Yeah. It is what it is.
I don't. And like, I'm done pretending. Like, it's so funny because I spent so long pretending to care. My major in college was political science with a focus in international relations. And like, I pretended to care for so long and then realized how much I hated it. Like studying it in college, I fucking hated it. I hated studying what was going on in the world. I hated studying politics. I hated all of it. And now I want nothing to do with it. I don't want like anything. And like, I don't know.
Yeah. I came to a couple like peaceful resolutions with myself about like watching all this, getting all stirred up and all pissy and mad at other things and yelling at other people about my opinion or their opinions, or defending what I feel is right. Doesn't fucking matter to me. Yeah. It was just bothering me and creating more problems in my life, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
And it doesn't solve or help the problems. And I was like, it doesn't make me a good or bad American or a good or bad person. Like, I see the persons around me and try and work with that. And
Yeah.
I think I can make it that type of a difference. I can go up on stage and say something funny. That doesn't mean I'm going to change the fucking world with it.
Yeah.
I don't expect to.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I think as long as you make the people around you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the bonus is every once in a while you do get someone that comes up and goes, I felt that. And that's the big thing. That, like, you make them feel like they're not so alone.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
Comedians make people feel good. And then I believe, because like I said, I want to be a hot dummy with big fake tits, because I think also big fake tits make people happy. So I think, I can do the world a service in other ways than, studying international relations. By just having big fake honkers. No, I think I think we should all strive to be dumb and hot.
Yeah.
That was our first soundboard moment. Yeah. I was telling you this. I told Ramsey, I was like, can we get a soundboard just full of Scott Stapp singing stuff or saying stuff?
I was like, Nicole, if you want to make radio, I'm a fucking 100%. Fuck podcast.
Because I do.
Let's do radio.
If there's a way, what are the copyright laws with, if we wanted to end this podcast with just a full screen of that, because I do want everyone to hear this song where Scott Stapp made a song for the Florida Marlins called Marlins Will Soar. It's a rewrite from You Will Soar. I guess that was one of his songs or whatever. And he's just listing baseball things. Clearly has never watched baseball in his entire life. And it, like, even just the sound effects, it starts out with, let's play ball, it's game day. Like a crack of the bat.
We'll give people something to look forward to on episode 2. I'll go over all the copyright stuff with you. We'll do it on the opening for the
Fantastic. I need people to see this video, and then I need a soundboard full of stuff from it. I was telling you, there is a part where he goes, yes, and that's like my favorite part of the song, and I just want that, just yes. Just because I need that encouragement on my podcast.
I messaged you, do you listen to live music? And you said...
You did. No, you said live rock albums.
Live rock
I
albums.
said, does Billy Joel's album count? Because I did listen to live Billy Joel.
It's the only one that counts.
Yeah.
But I listen to, like, Van Halen with David Lee Roth as frontman.
Yeah.
And I've listened to some of the Sammy Hagar, like, little clips. And their little in-between things make me so happy, even if they make no fucking sense. Sammy Hagar is about to sing this song called Love Walks In. Mm-hmm. And they're all wearing genie pants in this concert film for some reason. And it's like 100,000 people. It feels like that. It's everyone's screaming. It's high definition film. And he's like, this is the first song we wrote together. And it really put us together as a band. I just really love this song. This is Love Walks In. And then he just like takes a second and goes, it's about aliens. And they start the song, and I was like, the balls to be the new front band. I think I got a song. I've got an idea. Van Halen. and I listened to the song, and it just made me so happy.
Oh, God. And the way he, like, I feel like that's almost like explaining a joke after you do it. Like, I'm going to do this song. Just so you know, it's about aliens. Like, that's...
And there's so many hints in the song that I never picked up.
That's so funny. Oh, my God. There is a song. God, I can't even think of who it is or what it is. It is like a classic rock band or whatever. And it ends with, what's so civil about war anyway?
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses, which I fucking love Guns N' Roses. I tried to kill myself to November Rain, but that's for a different story for a different day. Episode 3. Yeah, episode 3. We'll talk about my journey through trying to kill myself. It was the only song long enough, that I could take all the pills.
Was it when the orchestra kicked in, or was it when?
I don't fucking. No, really, it was just like, honestly, like that was just the song I was listening to all the time at that point, because I was just like heartbroken and like it was fucking stupid and dramatic, and I love it. I love that's the song. But Guns N' Roses, they are this kind of corny, like, I love them.
Yeah.
I love them.
Same.
But that ending, it's just so funny to me. What's so about war anyway? It's what?
I love
like, he really thought he did something there. He really thought he said like the smartest thing anyone's ever said.
Yeah. It's like those comics that they have a stadium filled with people, and they've made like the dumbest non-point about nothing. Girls get drunk and they're weird, huh? Yeah. And you're like watching people fall over, and you're not laughing, and they walk away like, yeah. I really took that art form to a fucking new level. Dumb shit. I do have a drunk girl bit that's very good though, on record. I just want that on record. It's on my album.
What's your album called?
Civil War by Guns N' Roses.
Trying to give you a plug, Gary.
It's called Yellow Belt Confidence. It's available on all the things. My record label, I think, went out of business. So go to deadmellow.com and see if they're around.
Can I say this about Gary? Everybody loves Gary, comedically.
Yeah.
Gary's one of the people that everybody unanimously agrees is hilarious. So
I
people should go
literally
check out his album.
I told him earlier, because he told me that he didn't think that I liked him when we first met. And I was like, everyone says that because I'm just intimidated by everybody. But specifically, all I had heard about was how funny Gary was. So when I met you, I was just like extremely intimidated, which I guess came off as not liking you, which I need to work on, because I feel like I'm just so intimidated by everyone that I'm like, I shouldn't talk to them, because if I talk to them, they'll think I'm stupid, or they'll be annoyed, like I'm gonna annoy them. But then it just comes off as I don't like them.
But you don't like them, or you think you're better than them.
Yeah,
I
but
have the
it's
same
it's
issue.
just insecurity.
Yeah.
Like, I think everyone is too cool for me, but I guess that makes them think that I think I'm too cool for them, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stepped away from that. I gotta be Rickles. I gotta,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck around with this. So many comics told me stories about like this one kid who does comedy now in Boston. He's like, do you remember the first time I met you? I was like, oh God. He's like, you were recording your album at Great Scott. You got off stage. It was such a great show. And the first thing I said to you was, hey man, that was great. I'm thinking about doing comedy. Do you have any advice? And you said, don't. And then walked away. And I was like, that's a great line though.
You're on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got off a good. I'm not gonna.
I'm like invincible. Don't interview me.
Yeah.
Please. Like I let me enjoy the hour of solid hard. There's nothing harder than stand-up comedy.
I also feel
right?
weird when people ask me that, because I'm like, I'm not qualified to give you advice. Like, I feel like a fraud giving people advice. So when people ask me that, I'm like, I don't know. Do open mics. Which sounds like I feel like everyone says that. It's just like, just do open mic. But I'm not saying it in like a shitty, snotty way. Like, I'm saying it like, there's nothing I can tell you that's gonna make or break what you're doing, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing either. None of us know what we're doing.
Yeah. I said, like, I wish I took a class, because
Really?
once I did, I found friends that continued on comedy. I learned joke structure from a guy who had been doing comedy a long time.
I feel like a lot of comics are like very against that.
Yeah. And they're all wrong.
That's
Yeah.
why, a lot of comics flounder. It's like there's
Right.
this thing where people are like, "Gotta do it for 10 years," and it's like, I bet you a class would probably cut 4 years off of your
Probably.
comedy life.
If you got the right teacher.
If you got the right teacher who told you how to do open mics and what you're supposed to accomplish.
Theater is much of a craft as stand-up comedy. So it's performance and writing, but only like you're making the script, you're doing your own choreography, your own costuming. All your fucking things are done by you, one person alone. And like theater is treated as like such a, you need to get into this idea. You need to physically embody. You need to, vocally express all these like layers in schools. And I was like, well, that's just as like very similar to comedy in ways. So they go to schools for it, and there's thought of performance and writing and direct and all that shit. Comedy should have the same thing, but comics, I think, can poo-poo shit that's, anything they don't do.
Yeah. Well, I never took a class, but I was a Jungle Cruise skipper at Disneyland for a while before.
That's awesome.
I did comedy, and so I wasn't writing my own jokes, although sometimes I would add in my own whatever spin to it. But I was doing Disney approved jokes, but I was doing them it was doing 7 minutes over and over and over and over and over, every day.
Yeah.
And that I learned timing, because I learned that you could do the same jokes different ways with different cadences with different, and either they would laugh or not. I learned kind of cadence and that kind and timing and all that kind of stuff just through that.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, because I remember one time seeing someone straight up doing another comic's jokes at an open mic. And I was like, that person is stealing that person's jokes. But you know what? It might have just been a new comic who just had to start by going up and reciting someone else's jokes, which honestly is fun, because I think that is a good way to practice if you're not necessarily ready to write your own material and you just want to get down. Even if you said someone else's jokes your way, a different way, maybe not go out and do it in front of people and pass them off as your jokes. Maybe be this is this person's jokes or whatever. Or maybe just practice someone else's jokes in front of them or whatever.
A tour guide job. I mean, something
yeah,
that's what I did.
Or you can just do street jokes or something.
Exactly. Yeah. I do think that practicing any joke, just to get, because you do realize that you can say the same joke 20 different ways and it'll work one way and not another way.
Oh, yeah.
And I really I didn't even realize that I got that from working there. And then because when I started stand up, people were like, there's no way that you're new. You're not new. And I'd be like, yeah, it's I've only been doing it for 3 weeks. But really, if I was being honest with them, I did have a couple years of, performing, doing, not just performing, but I was specifically doing jokes and trying to make people laugh. And, so I think anything where you're, any kind of practice or anything that you can do before actually starting doing stand-up comedy.
The tour guide stuff, I was a colonial reenactor downtown Boston for 7 years. So you're dressed funny, people fuck with you, and you have to tell 90-minute of history. So you have to do a 90-minute outside show, all weathers, and that made me kind of strong as a performer and pacing and all these other things, and have jokes, and then you have to roll with these moments because it's not all because there's some serious shit. There was there's an Irish potato famine memorial in downtown Crossing Center in Boston, and it's this family. It's a weird statue. It's one healthy family that's walking by a family that their ribs are popping out and they're reaching towards God, screaming for relief as they hold their dying children. And
because there was no potatoes?
Because there was no food, yeah. Mm-hmm. And someone put a piece of pizza in the statue's hand that's reaching towards God. So I'm doing this with my back to it. I didn't know.
That's a good bit.
Really and I'm just over maybe 1 million people died, and people were like, and,
they think you're so in
yeah,
on it.
Yeah.
And then I turn around, and it's huge fucking a fresh piece of pizza.
Oh my God.
And I just looked at it, and I was just normally there's no pizza in the statue, but and you just had to fucking roll with these things.
Yeah.
And I just had to swim in the moment and address it. And you get these live things that make you not exactly a stand-up comedian, but ready for that environment.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else that you want to plug or?
Just Kirk Cameron, his religion.
Streaming service.
Social media.
At Comedy Gary P on all the things. Yeah, come out to a live show. I'm on the East Coast doing, shows here and there all around the country.
Yeah, if you're in Boston or in that area, definitely check out a live show that Gary's on. Hopefully not for long. Hopefully we can get him to move back here. I'll go kidnap him. But and listen to his album. He's fucking one of the funniest comedians.
You guys.
I love him. And
Love you too.
Thanks for doing the first episode. Yeah. Hell yeah.
I feel like this worked.
I think it did.
Good. This was fun.
Yeah. I love you, Gary.
Love you too, Nicole.
Take care. All right.
What's so civil about pods anyway?
Everything hurts. Everything hurts. Fucking life sucks. Everything hurts.